big question, which one is the Huawei P8 and which one is the P8 Lite? That's really hard to say because both are almost the same in the size, almost the same in the display size. One is 5.0 inch and the other one 5.2. That makes a difference in area of just 8%. Yeah, resolution is on the back side. This one is a P8. You will detect this on that very classy aluminum unibody over here. And on the right, this is a P8 Lite. As you can see here, it's not aluminum, it's not unibody, it's just plain plastic. Nevertheless, it's looking great with this kind of, let's say, metallic look, and especially this is a really great grip on the fingers. I really love it from the haptics and from the looks. Nevertheless, it's not at all that classy, that's sure. On the other side, we're talking about the differences, at least here in Germany, Europe, of 250 euros less for the Lite. So at the start right now, 480 and 230. So that's, of course, the question, which one to buy, what is the difference? And of course, I have some first test results for you from the battery runtime. That will be, I guess, in most cases, the most valuable point how to make the decision. But let's start with the hardware. First of all, like we're on the backside right here, you will see the differences with your own eyes concerning the that dual color flash here only on the P8, and this is just a white one. What you don't see is only in the P8 you have that optical image stabilizer right here on the Lite. It's just that regular digital one because the optical is way more expensive, of course, meaning in low light situations, the P8 will shoot definitely the better photos, even if both have 13 megapixels, videos in full HD, by the way, but that optical image stabilizer, you know, especially low light situations, long exposure times, it can remove that small movements of your hand way better, meaning you get a sharp picture where the P8 Lite might have be a little bit unsharp, not to speak of the videos that's more stable too. Front side, by the way, when on the cameras, 8 megapixel, 5 megapixels, but on the selfies, I'm not quite sure. But for me, the quality on selfies is not that big, the decision I would make. But nevertheless, yeah, you have to look carefully. 8% difference, but totally different in the quality, because we're talking about full HD on the first hand versus 720p. And this is dual domain, and this is not. Meaning, for example, if you're having a viewing angle here on the Lite, for example, I guess like this one you can see here, then you will have that point where all the colors and the brightness will change immediately. And this is an effect you do not have on the P8 with that dual domain IPS. Nevertheless, you can say, okay, for 250 bucks, I look straight ahead onto my device and do not mind about any viewing angle, quality, whatever. But that keeps the resolution, because here we're talking about 423 ppi versus 295 ppi. And we will look a little bit closer so that you can see by yourself, for example, by comparing these very, very tiny texts here on the start screens here, on the home screens like that one. Yeah, well, in the settings, yeah, there are bigger text, so it's no problem at all. But nevertheless, you will detect that small difference. It's a little bit sharper here. This is 25% above average. This is 40% below average, meaning the pixel density, the PPIs. So of course you have for that price that difference. Yeah, and the second one you might detect on the white background here is that the, or again, I guess this is better, yeah, like here in the settings, you will detect that the light is a little bit less bright, meaning concerning the nits. I measured here on the Lite 348 nits, that's 12% below average. Average always meaning all devices I've tested in the last 12 months. And here on the P8, it's 405 nits. That's just 3% above average. So you see brightness a little bit more, but even that wouldn't be, at least for me, a point of the decision for $250 more. I would say, no thanks, that's totally enough on the light here. Yeah. So what are the differences that might interest you? Of course, processor. Both have an octa-core processor, both coming from HiSilicon. That's a company owned by Huawei, so meaning that's a known Huawei processor chip. Here it's the Kirin 930, and on the Lite it's the Kirin 620. Difference makes the clock rate. Here it's just all 8 cores with only 1.2 gigahertz. And here on the P8, we're talking about 4 cores with 2.0 gigahertz and the other 4 with 1.5 gigahertz. 3 gigabyte RAM, 2 gigabyte RAM. So there's no question, no doubt at all that the processor of the P8 will be the better one. So we do not have to run any benchmarks for that. But of course, I will do for the final test. But here at the moment, getting both devices fresh here as in the final version, I want to present you both immediately. So I do not have any benchmarks at that time. Of course, it's the same user interface called Emotion UI. You have Android 5.0 as notifications, nothing. Yeah, the same Android 5.0 on operating system. You have LTE on both 4G, dual cell HSPA, NFC, and you do not have on both devices Wi-Fi AC and not Wi-Fi N in the 5 gigahertz band. So that's the same. And you have in the same memory as it seems, because 16 gigabyte internal memory, and as you can see, 2 slots, one for a micro SD and one for a micro SIM. That's true, but only for the P8, because on the P8 Lite you have that special trick. I do not know why this is only on the P8 Lite. So this is micro SD card, and you can in the second slot insert, if you want to, instead that nano SIM. So dual SIMs functionality if you want to, but only in the Lite. Do not know why. And by the way, in case you might have compared the specifications on the website of Huawei of these both, there is a difference, because the Lite is given only micro SD compatibility up to 32 gigabyte, while on the P8 it's officially up to 128 gigabyte. That's, at least as I have heard, a problem of license fees, whatever. I tried a SanDisk 128 gigabyte chip like that one here in the P8 Lite, no problem at all, but it's not guaranteed that it's working with all kind of chips, with all from all manufacturers, you know the difference. But at least I can guarantee, at least in my device here, in that German, European device, 128 gigabyte SanDisk, it worked. At least for me. So that's not that difference too. But if you want dual SIM functionality, you have to grab the P8 Lite. Unfortunately, that's the first one. And now coming, of course, to the, that's why I said most important part, I guess, because both batteries are fixed in. You cannot remove them by yourself, even on the P8 Lite. So this is both is lithium polymer, 2680 milliamps, 2200 milliamps. But on the other hand, we have that smaller display, less pixel, and especially that smaller processor. So that was a kind of a yeah, I couldn't wait for the results, let me call it like that. And I'm testing always all smartphones with the same features, that meaning full HD video, 200 nits, that's not very bright display, flight mode, of course, and then the P8 made it for 381 minutes. That's 19% below average, not the best value. And the P8 Lite, 326 minutes. So even worse, that's 30% below average. Meaning, and that's Of course, it's. I do not understand because that dual SIM functionality is something for users that have a private SIM and a business SIM and use their smartphones a lot. But no one uses that smartphones a lot will go with a phone that's a battery runtime that's 30% below average. That's something for normal users whom I do not know, or for users who say, I do not use my phone that often, that intense, then this might work. But that feature I do not understand totally. And here, yeah, well, 19% below average, that's not that good too. But on the other hand, at least for normal users, this you will come through the day, at least, I guess, normal users. So that's not very good on both devices, that battery runtime, unfortunately. But so at least you can say, okay, for 230 bucks, at least at the moment here on the start with the light one, it's not that expensive, like 480 bucks here on the P8. Yeah, we will have to see. I hope I could give you some hints for your own decision on this small comparison here from the Huawei P8 and the Huawei P8 Lite. Thanks for watching, and please be so kind to recommend my channel and to subscribe to it. Thanks for that in advance, and take care. Bye.